That book and the challenge of the cults and new religions by Ron Rhodes. Belief of Satanism. And I'm gonna read this as the best I can because I have some trouble pronouncing the words, complicated ones. My dyslexia. So bear with me, please. As noted in earlier, the beliefs of Satanism. As noticed earlier, there is no single kind of Satanist. Since most Satanists are self-styled, they typically have different views on various doctrines. The summary of doctrines present below is representative of those held by many Satanists. What they say about the Bible is that the Bible is a stupid book of fables. The most Satanists believe no holy book is authoritative. Satanists call the Bible a stupid book of fables, brimming with contradictions and falsehoods. It is viewed as an oppressive and enslaving book. Speaking of the doctrines derived from the Bible, Anton Levy writes, Christian doctrine has become outmoded and unbelievable even to the most feeble-minded. One wonders, how is it possible for people to be so stupid as to believe the lies they are taught by ministers and priests? Not only do Satanists reject the Christian Bible as an inspired book from God, they do not place themselves in submission to any holy book, including the Satanic Bible. Itself to remain supreme, then any book becomes secondary and must bow to the will of the individual. Satanists do, however, subscribe to the teaching in the Satanic Bible, even though it is not intended to be obeyed as authoritative. Rather, it is more or less a guide. It represents Levi's declaration of elimination from the strictures of any organized, authoritative, centrally ordered system, declaring the sufficiency of the individual and open mockery of the Christian Bible and the sovereign God of which the Bible speaks. To Levi, the Bible is an oppressive book that thwarts individually and independence. The Satanic Bible is just the opposite. God is interpreted variously. Satanists hold a variety of different views on the doctrine of God. Most deny the existence of a sovereign deity who involves himself in the lives of people. Indeed, many of them are atheists and do not believe in the existence of God at all. They say there is no God, no supreme, all-powerful deity in the heaven that cares about the lives of human beings. There is nobody up there who gives a expletive. Man is the only God. Yet other Satanists hold to a dualistic concept that acknowledges the existence of both God and the devil, who exist independently of each other and are equal in power. Researcher Craig Hawkins notes, within this framework, Some Satanists believe inundating or conquering the others hold that Satan will eventually conquer God. Still others interpret God as the force that lies behind the world of nature that can be harnessed by people to accomplish their goals. Levy says, this powerful force which permeates and balances the universe is far too impersonal to care about the happiness or misery of flesh and blood creatures on this ball of dirt upon which we live. Jesus is an embarrassing failure, they say. Satanists do not agree regarding the doctrine of Jesus Christ. Some believe he actually existed, but they say he was an utter failure. Lovey asserts that Christ has failed in all his engagements as both Savior and deity. He was essentially a whip with a weak spine. He was also talking about absurd things like love, self-denial, and forgiveness. By contrast, Satanists are interested in personal power and the gratification of self instead of putting others first like Jesus taught. The Satanist is interested in putting self first. As noted previously, some Satanists engage in rituals that are an open mockery of the Jesus of the Bible. Livy once said, I dip my finger in the watery blood of your impotent, mad Redeemer, and write over his torn brow, the true prince of evil, the king of the slaves. Say unto thy own heart, I am mine own Redeemer. Other Satanists deny that Jesus even existed. They say he is a mythological figure with no historical basis. Such a denial, of course, makes it easy to ignore Jesus' words about sin and the need for a Savior. So this quote in the Satanic Bible says, Cursed are the weak, for they shall inherit the yoke. Cursed are the righteously humble, for they shall be trodden under cloven hoofs. Cursed are the God adorers, for they shall be shown sheep. That's what the Satanic Bible they have written out. Man is supreme, they say. In Satanist thinking, the individual self is supreme above all else. Self-fulfillment, self-indulgence, self-exaltation, and Hinduism are top priorities. Even if self-fulfillment and self-indulgence come at the expense of another human being, they are still good. Researchers George Matter and Larry Nicholas note how Levy's Satanism is essentially a modern manifestation of Satanism. The Marquis de Sade, 1740-1814, had formulated this philosophy of Hinduism several centuries earlier, namely that natural urges should not be suppressed. Rejecting God, Sade taught that the only crimes or the only sins of humanity are those that prevent one from obeying the voice of nature. Sade faulted Christianity for suppressing natural urges. Anti-Lave represents a modern and popularized form of Satanism. They teach there is no sin. It is not surprising that Satanism do not believe in the biblical teaching of human sin, like some false religions teach that, because they're of the devil. Teaching of human sin and the need to be saved. In keeping with the Satanist low view of the Bible and low view of Jesus Christ, sin is more or less interpreted as something invented by Christianity to keep Christianity in business. The teaching that Jesus died on the cross to save human beings from sin is considered an outrageous myth. If anything, the thought of Christ on the cross is a sorry and embarrassing picture of weakness that no one should want to emulate. And it reminds me of the Islam rejects that Jesus dying on the cross, and Sikhism says there's no sin. On the Eastern Midrash. Instead of worrying about absurd things like sin, the wise course of action, according to Satanism, is to do what one can to pursue self-fulfillment and self-indulgence in one's present life. If any problems throughout, Satanists can solve their own problems through sheer human effort. No deity is needed, they teach. Satanism is a can-do belief system. Man is the measure of all things. The afterlife is interpreted variously by Satanism. Satanists hold differing viewpoints regarding the afterlife. Some believe there is no afterlife at all, since our present lives are all we have. We should live it up. Other Satanists hold to a concept of reincarnation, as Hinduism and Eastern religions, and believe we will have an eternity of physical rebirths to continually indulge our carnal appetites. Still, Satanists believe Satan will eventually defeat God, after which time Satanists will spend eternity in Satan's great kingdom of hell. Yes, they think it will be great, which is false. Where sensuality, gratification will be unbridled and enjoyed forever. Finally, there are some Satanists who concede that God will eventually judge Satan and all Satanists and cast them into eternal torment. But they still choose to follow the devil in the present life. Hawkins explains this perverted mentality. Satanists may hold this seemingly incomprehensible impulsion because of their seeing hatred and utter contempt for God. In Christians, God is viewed as a compatible, weak-willed, spineless, modern chump, a cosmic bore and nerd or infinite proportions. Christianity is viewed as a nuisance and hindrance to living as a dreary tyrant and lifeless religion. They feel it would be better to fully indulge themselves in this life, and if nothing else, be alive and burning with hatred for all eternity, than to merely exist in heaven. The satanic ritual abuse controversy. Some people claim that there are presently 100,000 adult survivors of satanic ritual abuse. The survivors allegedly have had certain memories therapeutically recovered that point to satanic crimes on the part of their parents or custodians, including emotional abuse, sexual torture, including mutilation of the sexual organs, incest, physical beating, and bestiality, and forcing women to have babies that are then sacrificed to Satan, among other heinous things. Such Satan rituals are said to involve the drinking of blood, the use of satanic symbols, and even human sacrifice. This purported nationwide and perhaps worldwide satanic conspiracy is said to be almost invincible and to involve millions of people, many of whom are in powerful positions in government, religion, education, and society at large. The typical victim in SRA is a white woman who has a history of psychological problems generally in the 25 to 45 age group. This person is highly suggestible through intelligence and well learned. Often the person has sought counseling for some I think I have to stop my page for a minute.